Hi, David. So your Desert Wanderer is done. A beautiful, beautiful hilt. This is the third one I've done, but it's the first one I've done that's had Josh's weathering treatment, and he's done an amazing job of it. It looks really, really good. Um, yeah, really, really authentic. Interestingly, I was watching Kenobi last night, and I've got another hilt on the bench, which is a New Hope Graflex of someone else. And that scene where he digs the hole in the sand and finds the box, and it's got this and the New Hope Graflex in it, and I kind of yeah, it was it was weird that it was kind of replicating what I had on my workbench actually in the thing as I was watching it. So yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful job he's done. I hope my install sort of does it justice. I like to think it does. So let's have a proper look around it now. So to begin with, I'll go through the bits and pieces that come with it. So you've got our commemorative KR Sabres coin that he includes. There's also, you see some rubber spaces in there. The idea of those is so that you can put them between this section and the center, so that you can get the alignment of that of the clip exactly where you want it. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility there. We've also got the enclosed pommel. Obviously, if you're using sound, that's no good because it completely blocks the sound. But that's the sort of more screen accurate version for display. We've got your KR Sabres speaker that came with it, because obviously we upgraded to your Smuggler's Outpost speaker for the actual install, so that's the KR one that came with it. Your batteries, which I've put the covering on. Now you had some of these and some of these. This type is slightly thicker, so it makes the battery a bit of a snug fit, so use these in preference. The other, there's another one of these actually in the hilt, but they're all done anyway. And we've got our charging blade plug, which I'll come back to in a little while, and we've got our blade holder emitter. So the idea is it gives you a little bit of extra depth. If you look on the screen accurate one, you've got very little blade depth in there, so this replaces it to give you that little bit more. I mean, it's a thin neck hilt. This is never going to be as solid blade holding as a Graflex, or something with a deeper blade socket. But that at least does help. It's a big improvement, and it means you don't need to use a recessed blade connector, which can be a little bit fussy. So this is the beastie. Also, we've got a screen accurate emitter end. Josh's amazing weathering that he's done on it. It looks, I mean, it's exactly how Ben would have found it in the desert. Yeah, really, really nice job that he's done on it. So in terms of actuation, we've got main button is the larger one, auxiliary is the second one. Nice action on those. Obviously our grenade section is all suitably scuffed. I assume you've seen pictures of all this already from Josh. So that's the exterior. So that's sort of the business side of it, the bit everyone's been waiting for. So if we take the pommel cap off, the whole thing just withdraws, and again we've got Josh's amazing weathering system on it, and painted. Obviously all the plastic parts are painted as well. Yeah, it's worth spending a moment just looking at the work he's done on making it look real, making it look like it's had a life before today. So yeah, so that's the chassis. Obviously we've got a blade connector in there which connects to a socket in the back of the hilt. Again, main auxiliary that we've upgraded as requested. There's your crystal upgrade. So it's a genuine quartz crystal, all fixed in there. And like I did on the last Wanderer, opening that up can be a little bit fiddly. So I've just ground away a tiny little sliver of metal away from there, just so you can get a nail in and flick it open. Just makes it a little bit easier to find the gap. So yeah, then we've got our battery hatch there. Again, that's the one that's got the shroud on it. I did just colour that red just so you can tell which is on and off. Once it's pretty much covered up once the lid's on, and then you've got a little hatch for the circuit board. So there's a Profi 3.9. Now I have put a little clear screen on there just to sort of protect it. There's also foam on the underside, and it's all insulated, and there's a little sort of ledge there so that nothing can, because the tolerances are pretty close, but nothing can short on anything. It's all super insulated and super protected. So yeah, so there's our screen. So boot it up, obviously we just flick the switch. There's the custom boot effect that you wanted. All our accent LEDs all light up. And then if we light the blade, now accent animation changes, the motor starts up, crystal begins to glow, and on the front we've got a sort of a little sub animation there. That'll obviously change when the chassis is inside the hill. It's different. I've got clashes and everything, obviously. Lockups, and press and hold to shut it off. Now obviously, as we've discussed, you've got about 67 fonts on this. I think this is the most customized hilt I've ever done. So we needed some heavy duty font navigation systems on it. So what I've done, basically, when you're changing fonts, pointing up goes forwards in the list, and let's get the list to hand. There's a list of all the fonts that are on there. So pointing up goes forward, pointing down goes backwards, and horizontal will skip to the one you requested, which is the LS6 Classic. So let's go to that now. So hold the core level and press and hold the AUX.
I'm Luke Skywalker.
So then we've got a different animation that you requested. This is the slightly slower one. And again, it's a slightly different animation on the front as well. Now with this one, the motor doesn't start on this one. I seem to remember we talked about you wanting a couple of presets where that don't include the motor. So there are a few scattered about. They're all itemized on the list. And the first LS6 is one of them. So then if we want to go to the next LS6.
This is your last chance. Free us or die.
So that's the faster animation. So yeah, and then of the 4 LS6 fonts, you've got slow, fast, slow, fast. So yeah, I think that sort of works. That also includes the pulsing crystal. Again, various fonts have different. Some have pulsing crystals, some don't. I've sort of mixed it up a bit to sort of to keep it interesting. If you then go, if we go press and hold with it pointing down, it'll skip to the last font.
Battery level indicator,
which just gives you the sort of charge level. Now, with the core inside the hilt, instead of going to a battery level indicator, it'll skip to a battery charging mode. I'll come back to that in a minute when we put it in the hilt. But in order to keep the number of fonts the same, this battery level is duplicated. So if we go forward one font, backwards one font,
battery level indicator,
it's just duplicated, just to keep them the same number of fonts, because it keeps it. That means that whatever font you leave it on, whether it's inside or outside the hilt, it'll always follow. If you see what I mean.
diagnostic,
You also asked about the diagnostic, so that is basically all it is. It cycles through all the colours that you can select on the fonts on every LED on the hilt. So yeah, it just sort of cycles round. Not a bad display thing in its own right, but it's kind of meant as a tool. And then if we want to go back to the first font, it's pointing up, press and hold,
It's just bad these days.
and we're back to the home font. So yeah, and then obviously you can skip forward 5 fonts at a time with a double click pointing up,
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
or 10 fonts at a time with the triple click. So yeah, it's navigating should be pretty straightforward. So let's go back to the home font.
It's just bad these days.
So now when we put the core into the hilt, obviously we have to line up those switches with the switches on the hilt. Be careful not to touch the pins. It shouldn't come to any harm if you do, but just being careful not to. And then when you slide it in, it'll only go in one way. If it's misaligned, you won't be able to get it in. And when you push it all the way in, it acknowledges that it's in. So now we're into a different mode. So with it inside the hilt, all the internal accent LEDs go out, and the motor doesn't start on any of the fonts because it's a bit noisy. So yeah, but that's all taken care of. You don't have to sort of think about it. Now, as I said, in this mode, if we go to the last font, press and hold.
battery charging mode,
So now If we take off the display emitter, get rid of these. If we take off the display emitter and the little plug in there, which has got a little diffuser screen on the back, and we put on the blade emitter, and what you can do with this is it simply pops in like a normal blade, nip up one of the screws, micro USB in the end connected to a regular USB output, and then there's a little red light in there. It'll light red when it's charging, and then once it's fully charged it'll turn blue. So yeah, it's all sort of automatic. So yeah, the reason on the inside it doesn't go to charging mode is because you must only ever charge it through the hilt like this. Otherwise, if you try and hold the plug against the chassis, you'll misalign the pins and blow up the electronics, which would be bad. So that's why that's set up like that. So yeah, let's get it fired up. There it is, it lives. So yeah, now around the emitter you've got 3 of these little screws. I would recommend you only use 2 of them. The idea is if you have 3, you've got 3 fulcrums, which is less stable than just tightening 2 of them. So yeah, just pinch up 2 of those. You know, you tighten them massively, but just yeah, use 2 rather than 3. Got all your normal effects. Clashes, of course. I forgot to music tracks. So you've got
well, everybody believes.
character quotes with there, and then with the blade off, it'll play a music track. And as we discussed on those LS6 fonts, with the chassis out, it plays the bleeping effect. With the chassis in, it's got music tracks on each of those fonts. So yeah, I think I've covered everything. I've almost certainly forgotten something. But anyway, that is your Desert Wanderer lightsaber hilt. As I say, a bit of a special one. This, you know, nice to work on something that Josh has added his magic to. And yeah, as I say, the most customized hilt I've ever worked on. So yeah, your Desert Wanderer lightsaber. Enjoy.